Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm sharing my third palette empty with you guys. So this is the Pan That Palette update, or Pan Those palettes in my case. I was working on 4 eyeshadow palettes in the beginning of this year, and then I managed to finish 2 of them, even though those were tinier palettes. And then I only had 1 eyeshadow remaining in the third palette, which I finished. So now I'm at 3 empty palettes, which brings my total eyeshadow palettes to 17. I had 20 to begin with. I'm really excited about that, even though the palettes that I finished are super tiny, like 6-pan palettes or maybe a quad, but still empties are empties. And then I rolled in a 5th palette to finish a few months ago, and I have great progress on that as well. But before we get into all those details, if you are new here, please consider subscribing to my channel. My name is Rafneet and I make a lot of panning videos. I mostly like panning eyeshadows. So now let's take a look at our very first eyeshadow palette. But before we do that, I just want to say I'm refilming this video. So I filmed my original video on 30th of September, and then I edited that one and I accidentally deleted it. So yes, all of that work that went into editing and filming, it's lost. I'm so sad about that. So I'm refilming it on 2nd October, which I was honestly hoping to film my project level up update today or maybe tomorrow, but it has to be pushed by a few days now, simply because I accidentally deleted my video. Let's take a look at the very first eyeshadow palette, which is this e.l.f. Summer Breeze, and I've been working on this one for 2 years now. This was my main Pan That palette last year. I finished 5 eyeshadows in here last year, and then I was left with 5 of them. Most of them had a lot of progress when I rolled it over into this project this year, and I was only left with that black eyeshadow. My goal was to kind of finish one side and maybe hit the corner, which I did, and this is how it is looking like today. I am super excited about how much progress we are able to make. I mean, I was able to clear this corner and the bottom corner as well, and I'm only remaining with very little product. So you can see the product on this side is very thin. I'm hopeful that I'll be able to clear this entire side, including the corner, by next update. So yeah, that would be my goal for this palette. And I used it a total of 25 times last month to have this much progress. I was using it a lot even earlier in this project last year as well, but I was only using a little of it, like maybe on my lower lash line or a little bit in my upper lash line. But I realized that if I want to finish this eyeshadow, I have to use a lot of it. So that's the reason I've been using it the way I am wearing it today, which is I have it on my entire outer lid. I have it topped off with a deeper shimmer eyeshadow that I'll get to a little bit later. It's also in this project. Then I have it blended towards my outer V, I mean the upper crease on outer V. I have it on my lower lash line. I have my upper lash line tight lined with this eyeshadow. So I'm wearing a lot of it and I am able to make a lot of progress wearing it that way. I honestly really enjoy wearing like darker outer corner looks in general as well, so I really don't mind using it. And it's my favorite black eyeshadow. It's my only black eyeshadow basically. I really like it and I want to enjoy it while it's here, and I think I'll be able to finish it this year if I continue using it the way I am using now. So I'm really confident that I'll be able to clear majority of the product in this pan by next update. Now let's take a look at our empty palette. So last month I only had 1 eyeshadow remaining. It was this terracotta sort of crease shade, but it was super pigmented, and that's the reason it took me super long to finish it compared to the other eyeshadows in this palette, and it only took me 4 more uses to get it done. This is how it's looking like today. And last month I had that tiny amount left, but I was able to get through it. I wore it a couple times all over my eyelids, and I think that's the reason I was able to finish it in 4 uses. I'm really glad that this is an empty. Few months ago I finished Ice Baby palette. That's again from Essence. So these eyeshadows are very loosely pressed, and there's not a lot of product in here either. There's 4.5 grams of product across 6 pans, so that's under 1 gram for each eyeshadow pan, and that's the reason I was able to move through all of these eyeshadows rather quickly. And also it had a substantial amount of prior uses as well before I rolled these eyeshadows into this project, and that's the reason I was able to finish them within an year, because I already had a good solid starting point. So that's our empty, and now let's take a look at the last eyeshadow palette that we were working on, and we also rolled it into this project a few months ago, which is again from Essence, and that's called Dope It Up. I got this one bronzed this way that I just finished, and Eye Size Baby palette all together, and this is how it was looking like last month. My goal was to expand the pan on the bottom shade, the third shade on the bottom row. Apart from that, I just wanted to use all eyeshadows in here at least 5 times each, and this is how it's looking like today. I was able to make such a good progress on these eyeshadows. So let's take a look at each eyeshadow now. So the first one is called Sing Along. I used it 20 times, and that has resulted in such a tremendous pan expansion. I'm really happy how it's going. Now I have confidence that I'll be able to finish it by end of this year. So next one is called Saturday Night or Nights. Yeah, it's called Saturday Nights, and I used it 11 times, resulting in the pan expansion. And the third eyeshadow did not have pan on it. I used it 14 times, and then I used it once more for a total of 15 times. So I hit pan on this eyeshadow called Feel So Good after 14 uses since last update. Moving on to the bottom row, the first one is called Hands Up High. I used it 22 times. This is something that I'm wearing in my inner corners. I also wore it as a face highlight. That's the reason I was able to move through this eyeshadow rather quickly. I also wore it over my darker shimmer eyeshadows to just lighten up my look a little bit, and that's the reason I was able to reach for this one 22 times and make this progress. This one is called Groove On. If you remember, it only had one pan, and then it had a really deep dip next to that pan, but that was actually me poking my finger into this eyeshadow. I think I did that last year, so I concentrated on that dip to hit pan there, and then I kind of worked towards merging both of those pans, and it only took me 11 uses to do so. It still has a lot of product remaining on top and bottom of the pan. And last eyeshadow called Party's Jumping. I used it 15 times to have this eyeshadow look the way it is looking today. It's a really nice shade. This is what I'm wearing on my outer corners to kind of blend my outer corner or the black shade with my lid shade. I really like using these deeper shimmers for that purpose. I am overall enjoying this palette, but I really don't like one eyeshadow in here, which is this one. So it looks like a pinkish muted white shade, but it's very ashy. So I was hoping to use it as a transition shade, but it doesn't really blend into my skin. I'm gonna show you what I mean by that. Let me try to swatch it. You can probably tell that it's looking super ashy, not in like a white way, but it adds gray to my skin, I think, and that's why I really can't use it as my blending out shade or maybe blending my crease shades into my brow bone. I really can't do that with this one because then it makes my eyes look frostier. You can tell by the ashiness that it has added onto my hand. I am more of warm neutral person, so that's the reason these kind of shades really don't work for me. So I'm hoping to franken it with something warmer, not the entire eyeshadow, but maybe I'll try to franken a little bit of it just as an experiment, because I have to repress this eyeshadow because otherwise I won't be able to use it. There's very little product remaining in here, and all of that product is kind of pushed towards the edges, so I really can't get it with my brush or with my finger, to be honest. So that's the reason I need to repress it. I think I'll probably film another repressing and franken session if I get around to doing so. So all of those usage numbers that I shared with you, they are from September. I used these eyeshadows today, but I haven't counted them towards the numbers that I shared with you because I usually film at end of the month and I'd like to keep it that way. This one was kind of an exception because I accidentally deleted my earlier video, but there has not been any prominent changes with like a single use on these palettes, so that's why I have not counted those uses towards last month. They are going to be a part of my October uses. So that's where we are at with this palette. Now let's set some goals. The very first goal I want for this palette is to hit side pan on this eyeshadow. It's called Saturday Nights, and then I want to repress it, and of course we'll see how far I can get with this one. I'll probably repress this one as well. Then I would like to hit side pan again on this eyeshadow called Groove On. I would also like to hit side pan, maybe clear this corner on this eyeshadow called Parties Jumping. So that would be my goals for this palette. I'm not looking to finish this palette entirely this year because I know that's not possible. I mean, it could be if I really focus on this eyeshadow palette and I wear these eyeshadows every day until end of December, but I don't want to do that. I'm fine finishing just a couple shades and then having great progress on the rest of them because I can always roll it over to the next year. But I would want to still finish as many eyeshadows as I can, along with making progress on my other palettes as well, because I do enjoy my project level up and pan those eyeshadows. So that's the reason I won't be hyper focusing on this eyeshadow palette to finish everything in here. Again, let's take a brief look at what we finished. We finished this last remaining eyeshadow called Love Yourself from Essence Bronzed This Way. So I'll be putting this palette away now. And in my finale, I'll come back with all of these empty palettes and I'll share the total number of uses for each eyeshadow, the total number of uses that took me to finish each eyeshadow. But I just want to touch a little bit on how I'm able to finish these many eyeshadows. I only have like two reasons, I'd say. I've been working on a bunch of these eyeshadows for over 2 years and I've been wearing them consistently. That's of course the obvious. But apart from that, the way I'm choosing these palettes also plays a huge part, because if I had been working on any other eyeshadow formula that was a bit harder, I would not have been able to make this much progress. And these palettes or the formula was very soft and there wasn't a lot of product in these essence palettes either. That's the reason I was able to get through most of them under 100 uses. So that plays a huge part and I think it sets you up for success as well. That's what I think I should continue to do it in future as well. And another part is that I am very heavy-handed with my eyeshadow. I really like those colors to pop, so I do pack a lot of eyeshadow onto my eyes. The total number of uses to finish an eyeshadow are very subjective. So for someone, it might take more or less uses depending on how they use these eyeshadows. That's just something that I want to touch on a little bit. And I was super bad at taking pictures of the eye looks that I created. Also, I'm pairing these eyeshadows with my other eyeshadows in other projects as well. So those are not standalone looks from these eyeshadows exclusively that I'm working on in this project. That's how I like to wear my eyeshadows, by doing a single look using my eyeshadows across all the projects that I'm working on. But these are the pictures. And that's all I have for today's video. Thank you so much for sticking with me until the end. I hope you have a wonderful day or night depending on when you're watching my video, wherever in the world you are. I will see you in my next one. Until then, take care. Bye.